And welcome to the Coach's Corner, coming to you from the Sugar and Spice on Pine Street. We are joined by Broome head football coach Lynn Fleming. Well, Coach, it's officially now a winning streak, a two-game winning streak. You were able to put together two good games in a row, and it couldn't come at a better time when you are getting ready to go into the money part of your schedule, the region games you got left.
Yeah, it's an important time to get better and be better. So, we hope we can continue this momentum, and we're not satisfied. We keep pushing, and ready to get the region started off the right way.
And we're going to start first talking about your defense the other night. I thought it was really interesting that you had three players with double-figure tackles in that ball game. And our player of the week, Cedric Fernandez, I remember he made three straight tackles on one possession on a 3 and out. He was the 3 and out. He was the one that made all three tackles on that possession, and that's kind of unique. You don't see that usually.
It is. Yeah, Cedric played well. I thought our defensive staff, Coach Wood, they had a great game plan coming in, and kind of kept those guys off balance and kept them off the field for the most part. And I thought they did a really good job. And like you said, we had multiple guys that contributed.
And and it's probably good too. Non-conference games, non-region games, and all of that are important in a way that it gave you a chance to see what you're going to probably be seeing Union run on offense for part of the game again, like that, to get used to that, running with that heavy backfield and unbalanced line, both running the counter away from it and all like that. That was probably to get a chance to get a little work against somebody you're going to see later on.
Yeah, you hope so. Blacksburg, they show a lot of things from anywhere from two back to the heavy set that they showed, and that's I thought our guys did a good job lining up and taking that on. So like I said, our coach staff does a great job every week of having these guys prepared, especially alignment. Know where to line up, and for the most part, we line up correctly. Sometimes we don't, but unfortunately, we don't always make the play, but we line up correctly and in pretty good position.
And I know that's tough to defend when they've got the unbalance to one side and they've got the three backs in the backfield, and then you have to shift to kind of over there, and then lo and behold, here they come and run it back the opposite way with the three backs leading around the other end. That is hard to really line up, I think, and stop that sometimes.
Well, it is. You really just kind of prepare for what you see, and when those guys line up and you see that, it's just kind of one of those sets. It's just kind of who's going to be the toughest dudes, and so a little bit of misdirection that they threw at us was something we hadn't seen a great deal of, but our guys handled it well, and we're prepared for it.
All right, on the offensive side of the ball, another good game. A little sluggish starting out, but the weather was bad, and coming off a big win the week before, that could have been expected for that a little bit, but we're able to get another strong rushing game out of Taekwon Booker. I think he had over 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, and again, just gives you a very strong presence in that backfield of being able to grind those yards out.
It does, and it's that's always great to have, and that's something we've talked about this week is we're going to have to be able to run the football. That's going to be very important. We can't start out as sluggish as we did last week. I think the weather may have had a little factor. We talked about having delays, the possibility of having delays and all that, and whatever team was going to handle this was the team was going to win a football game. And when you a lot of times when you're dealing with young men, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. And I thought we came out a little sluggish as well, but I thought we picked it up after the first few series and was able to put some things together and get the ball in the end zone.
Jameson had another good game throwing the football. You got people around. It's good to see Asher Littlejohn find the end zone again with some plays there. And I think Reese got in, scored one on his birthday, though. But do you feel like now going into conference play this week that maybe you are playing your best football at the right time?
I think so. I think, the biggest thing right now is I feel like we have guys in the right place, and that's as important as anything. Now we're figuring out ways to just continue to get the ball in their hands, just different ways. So I think that's been the biggest thing with us, and I feel like that's what's got us closer, and I feel like that's what's leading us scoring some more points. And just the balance that we have, and so I think that is a big key, and hopefully we can continue playing well this week.
I know early in the season you had to play several really good teams, and the schedule was made a couple of years in advance and all like that, though. But that I know you took some lumps. But now, when I was talking to Taekwon after the game and all, he was saying that the guys really, after the Powdersville game, feel like they've got their confidence back now. And they feel good, they feel comfortable in their roles, and they're feeling good. But the most important thing is that they've overcome those other games earlier, and they are playing with confidence now.
Yeah, and it's really tough and really hard, again, when you're trying to figure out what you got, and trying to get guys in the right place and all this stuff. Not only that, you throw on top, you're playing really good football teams that are good year in and year out. So I think I think our guys have got a little swag back with them. I think they've gotten a lot more comfortable in their roles. I think they play football now, and again, we're doing it at the right time. So hopefully we can continue with the swagger that we have, and just continue to play well.
And
Better.
And that's what he said after the game. He said, "I feel like we've got our swag."
Yeah, and I do. I mean, you can see, even in practice, I feel like you can see that a little bit, the confidence in making plays.
And I honestly feel like too that now that I don't know earlier in the season if I would have said this, but they look like they feel like they can play with anybody in the region right now.
Yeah, and and part of that too is just a special group. I think these guys all get along really well. I think the locker room is a neat place for these guys, because I think they genuinely care about each other. And you can see that in practice, and you can see some tough love going on, getting on each other a little bit. But you can tell how much these guys they push each other, and they want to get better based on the effort level they have in practice.
Well, I got tickled that after the game I talked to Taekwon and did a short interview with him too, but I got to meet his uncle. His uncle, I think from Charlotte, was down there.
Oh,
he
God,
came over
good.
and put his arm around me and said, "I got to have my picture made with Coach Cox," and enjoyed talking with his family members over there, and they seemed real supportive of him, and were really proud of him there, though. But I really enjoyed, they were kidding me about it. It's another Sugar and Spice 1st and 10, and this a D2 Power Sports flag on the play, and they were kidding me about Dolly and all. I said, "Well, Dolly didn't feel good last week." "Well, we're glad to see she's feeling better," and all, the touchdown mascot and all. But had a good time with them after the game on Friday night.
That's good. That's good.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Woodruff now. That Woodruff, Woodruff has got some players on their team. I think they've got a tight end, if I'm correct, that is a major college prospect, and they've got a running back, I believe, too, that's supposed to be a big-time prospect too. But what can you tell me a little bit about their personnel?
It's kind of what you said. The running back is he's a Division I player. He's going to be playing big-time football. Tight end's another guy that you got to know where he's at on the field. And the thing about him, he's so versatile. They bump him out wide. They'll bring him in H-back and tight end. And same thing with the running back. We've seen him a lot out as a receiver. So they'll move him around, trying to find ways to get the ball in his hands. But they've got some other pieces as well. They got a couple of receivers that are pretty good, and the quarterback, he does a pretty good job of managing the game for them. So it's a talented group. Physical up front, and so we're looking forward to the challenge and opportunity.
Well, they've dodged some bullets this year. That and I thought they're a very good Emerald team. Had them down, I think 22-0 or 22-7 at the half there, and they just exploded in the second half. And they've done that several times with some people had big second halves and all. But they ran out of luck this past week, and they're going to be coming in with a loss on their record now. They finally got beat and all. And what did you see on the film of that game from their last game they played?
I thought watching Ren, they did a very good job up front. At the line of scrimmage. They got a running back that's pretty good as well. But they were just very, very physical. And I thought Woodruff didn't have some things go their way, and things they just couldn't recover from. But I know Coach Long, and what a job his staff does, and so I know 100% they're gonna be ready for Friday.
Well, I mentioned when I was walking down with Coach Sullivan about, it's good to get the play against Blacksburg, uh, because that's some things you're going to see and all with what they were doing on offense. And he said what was good too to play Blacksburg because some of the things they do on defense is similar things that Woodruff did there. So how was that? Well, will you be, how do you feel about that? Getting a chance maybe to see how for 2 straight weeks how the team's going to line up on defense and try to play.
Well, it's great to be able to do that because I don't know, we got confused on a few things the other night up front, and it gave us a chance to look at that and address it and fix it. Because like Coach said, we're going to see a defense is very similar as far as scheme. So I think it helped us tremendously, and we'll find out exactly how much here before too long.
Okay. We know that regardless of the records, whenever Broome and Woodruff gets together, it's usually a pretty good game, close ball game though. And what do you see as the things that Broome's going to need to do to win this first conference game?
We'll go back to we need to run the football. We need to control the line of scrimmage on offense. We need to get some chunk plays with our run game. With that being said, defensively, we're going to have to stop the run. Their running back, like I said, he's a really good player. The H-back tight end guy does a really good job as well, and they insert him as a blocker, and we're going to have to be able to stop the run. So, I think whoever runs the ball most effectively Friday night is going to win a football game.
And it's kind of interesting. I liked what Shane Beamer said their motto was last week going into Kentucky game, and that was stop the run and have some fun.
There you go.
So that's what he said. They said all week, stop the run and have some fun on that though.
We can do that.
So well, it looks forward to it being the first region game there though. How do you see the region shaping up this year now that you're in region play?
It's really hard to tell. We have some region teams. For instance, Chapman. I think they're 0-6
0-6.
right now, but they play some really good football teams as well. So same thing with Union County, and I guess probably the one that maybe hadn't been tested the most is probably MVP. You really don't know exactly what you got there because you don't really see them a whole lot. But I think coming into Woodruff, I think they've played some really good competition, and I think they'll be ready. So it's really going to be hard to say. I think it's every week is going to be crucial. So hopefully. This first week's probably going to be the most crucial. So whoever can start fast and stay healthy, I think we'll have the upper hand.
I was going to say it's good to get back home to Royal Stadium, but the road's been good to you the last couple of weeks being a road warrior. Do you ever feel like sometimes when you can play a game like that on the games on the road that there are a whole lot less distractions where all you got to do is go play football rather than try to keep the guys at the school and wherever and waiting for the time to pass? I used to kind of like road games just to get away and you don't have to worry about so many things.
Yeah, you get them on the bus and, the bus ride over there and you get off and, everything's a little more scheduled, I guess, if you will. When you get off the bus, you have a plan, you're going, you're getting dressed, you're getting specialty, you're stretching, you're going, when you, and we've been trying something a little bit different this year. We're, some of our home games, we've been letting them go get something to eat and then come back just to do something a little bit different. And, they seem to like that. And, we'll have a few guys that'll stay at the school and we'll feed them. But, they just to change it up, just do something different. And, they, like I said, hopefully, we can do that again this week and stay focused and, be able to play well.
Well, it's the only thing you got to worry about when you go on the roads that everybody brought their helmet and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I had a story one time, funny story, where we played a road game with basketball, and I used to always go behind in the locker room to make sure nobody left anything.
Yeah.
And I had one player that his warm-ups, his uniform, everything was still in his locker. And so I stuffed it in my bag. I didn't say anything. And when he got to the game and it's time to get dressed, he went over there. Only thing in his bag was his books. and he's panicking and all. And I said, "You can give me a big kiss later." I said, "Here it is." But
That's one of the things you always worry about. And you doing this long enough, you know, we've had guys that's forgotten just about everything.
Yep,
So from
I have
helmets
too.
to cleats to shoulder pads to girdles to socks so you know we always pack an extras bag that has you know just about everything in there just in case for those reasons.
Well, we look forward then to getting back to Royal Stadium. Look forward to our first region contest, and look forward to you talking after the game. Good luck this
Sounds
week.
great. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.